welcome to the Wealth Roundtable. It's Sean Venable
Dwayne Venable.
and we are so excited to be here with you. Little secret, or maybe not so. So many of you are, follow us on social media, and we are so excited because we recently celebrated 23 years of marriage together. A long journey. I think we've been together for 28 years, or I said 20, a whole lot of years. And as you know, Dwayne and I are on this ambitious mission to really redefine the meaning of wealth. And so, wealth is so much more than the tangible. It's about having wealthy relationships, healthy relationships, being whole, mentally, spiritually, financially, so many aspects. So, today, we are going to give you a little bit of a peek behind the veil, and we're going to talk about a wealthy and a healthy marriage, or the journey of getting there 23 years together. And we are so excited because we have the executive producer that's going to be joining us to kind of either help coach us along with this interview or be the referee, either one. So we are so excited to have our friend and our family, James, along here with us. So, James, join us on stage.
I am glad to be here with the Venables, here to share in this particular subject right here. And I'm just happy to be here. I am the founder of KBCN Media, and we just excited to be here. And I know I got my business partner right here, John Shoats. Let me see. I'll pull him in too because he got a little he got a little more extra years than I do in this marriage
Oh,
game. John.
Mr. John.
How you doing?
Hey, y'all, the Venables.
Yes.
Yes,
What,
sir.
So,
what y'all got?
listen,
20, y'all got 23 years or something like that?
yeah, we
Yeah,
got 23
23.
years. 23. Now, how many do you have?
We're 21 this year,
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow.
August
23,
19th.
23, 21. That's what, 42?
Yeah,
I can't
44.
count. 44. Okay, Mr. James, what about you?
I got 19. August,
19.
Yeah,
Yeah.
19.
We got a whole
August
lot of
6th.
years on this line. And the
Yeah.
next time that we do this, I'm going to have to get the wives in because I feel like I'm going to need some
Uh-oh.
backup and
Hey, let's get her
reinforcement.
while we got her. Let's get her.
So
I
we're,
got my fellas with me now. You in trouble
oh
today.
my goodness. So listen, we are live and in charge, right? And today we're just talking about wealthy marriages, the journey of getting there. We're peeking behind the veils. The producers of this show will have an opportunity to ask us a few questions. And I'm really afraid because I'm the only lady. So ladies, look out for me and put some love in the chat.
We
Put
finally
some
outnumbered them. We finally did it.
Exactly.
Woo!
Finally.
Woo.
So listen, we told our story. I think our very first episode on KBCN TV network, we told our story about how we met. I was 16 years old, and how we, came to be and formed our family together. But I'm gonna ask. I'll kick it off, and I'm gonna ask Dwayne a question, and then I'm gonna kind of chime over to the gentleman as well. Um, I will say for you, what has the experience of the journey been like, and what have you learned on the journey of marriage and business?
Um, wow. So many things because we got married when we were really young. So I learned a lot through this journey. The kids taught me a lot. I think sometimes those kids were raising me and I was not raising them because they pushed the boundaries, they asked the questions, they don't really care about how you feel. They still want to know what they want to know and they want to get to a solution. So I think I've learned a lot. I mean, patience is definitely one of them things, one of those things that you learn along the way. Patience, you learn to trust. You have to give a lot of yourself. You got to learn how to be unselfish in a lot of ways. So you learn a lot. I learned a lot through this time. Through these times, business wise, business, like I said, the main thing in business I learned is just start the journey. Don't give up. It's not an obstacle; it's an opportunity. It's not. There are no challenges. There are only opportunities to get better. Um, and if it's not really a failure. It's just a different route you need to take it, or you need to just back up and take a jump this time instead of trying to step over. Um, so those are the things. I mean, even in life and family and marriage, those are the same kind of things you have to learn. And the main thing I say with marriage is you definitely have to learn to be willing to give because there are going to be times where you're going to have to carry the load. There are going to be times where um, you're going to have to stand in the front and weather the storm while your partner recover. Sometimes they've taken a lot, and you just need to cover them. And I know Sean have done it for me as well as I've done it for her. So I think those are the most important things. It's not going to be 50-50 all the time. Sometimes it's going to be 80-20, 90-10, whatever it is. Y'all just need to be there together.
Oh, listen, wait a minute. I feel like I'm over a little bit. I have a question for Mr. John and Mr. James. So, from a male perspective, like all the ladies, tune in because I'm getting ready to pick the brain of awesome men. What advice would you give men who are in business with their wives? And Mr. John, I'll go to you first.
Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dwayne. I think Dwayne started a great. So the the tone is perfectly. What I've learned now, 21 years later, that I wish I had learned. Premarital didn't show me. So I believe we did the things that you're supposed to do, or they require, or suggest, recommend that you do prior to premarital counseling and courting and under those understanding those things. What I've learned by working with Stacy full time all the time is that I love her, but I finally understood what it meant to value her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. I believe she loves me and I love her, but I don't believe it's been probably the past 4 or 5 years that I up my value of her.
Yeah.
So you will hear things like, you don't care for me. You don't care. And internally, that would send shockwaves, Sean, through me. Like, what do you mean I don't care? And you start in your mind going down the list. I do this, I do that. I'm supporting here, I'm supporting here. What she was saying was, I know you love me, but I don't feel that you value me. So what I would say to husbands, yes, you love your wives, but what is your value meter at?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because the things we value, we make priority without being asked. We make time, not excuses. We're more willing to dispense more grace. We're more open to hear and communicate when you value something. We're a lot more protective. We're more intentional when you value, Sean. When you love, you love. Well, I love one of my favorite suits, and I love this and I love that. But the one I value the most, one right now, probably sitting in the suit bag. The shoes I value at a higher level, probably got the shoe trees in them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you get that value meter higher, then when you're in business, those things that could be misunderstandings that could easily snare you, and miscommunication, or things that can lead you to assumptions. That value meter allows you to respond differently, or I call it responsibility, the ability to respond. So that's kind of what I got from it.
Now y'all dropping some gems here. Where is your value meter? Dwayne, you kicked it off. Mr. John, you took us to the value meter. Mr. James, what about you?
Well, I would kind of piggyback with John about the value. When you're married, that's inclusive with two people. So when you go into business, especially when one spouse allows another spouse to go into business first on their gifts or their dreams, the other spouse who are going into business really have to include the other spouse, because the other spouse can feel like they're left out if the other one is just running and really doing the business. But then the other spouse is like, okay, well, what about us, or what about me? And that's where John was talking about the value. If I value you, then I need to include you in what I'm doing. Because even if I value and include you in what I'm doing, maybe I'm doing something wrong that you see, that you can say, well, baby, look, you need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. And that's part of what the Bible says, she's a helpmate to you. And we see just straight out, men just straight out, we run it. But women have like this panoramic view, and they
Yeah.
see stuff from left to right, and they say, well, they'll even say, watch out for that person right there, because I don't know about that person right there. I don't know if they value the same things that you value. So to me, is to include your spouse into your business, to where the spouse feels inclusive with the business. And that's part of that value.
Value, make sure that you're including, checking your meter.
I think Mr. James and Sean been talking, because sometimes Mr. James and Sean say different things, and she'll point those things out to me along the way. You know, I'm full steam ahead, and she's like, wait a minute, you might want to watch out over here. Look out for
Right.
this, look out for that, you know. And sometimes when I slow down and take a look at what she's actually talking about, she's right on the way.
And you know what, Dwayne, I had to practice that, because usually, hey, I'm full steam ahead, I'm running, and sometimes when I didn't include my wife, she would just let me run. And then when I bump into the wall, then I'm like, why you ain't say nothing? She was like, well, you didn't include me, so I just thought you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I wasn't gonna say nothing.
I thought you was gonna go through it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say from a wife's perspective, and the next time I will not be outnumbered, right?
Oh,
As this is impromptu. Oh goodness. From a wife's perspective, I've learned to really honor the space that my husband is in, and to honor the role that he plays. I think a lot of times, women, especially in underserved communities, you may come from broken homes, or you may be the actual example of what a healthy marriage looks like. And so we run so quick, and we're trying to be independent, and we're trying to do all of the things. But giving each other grace and learning my role and his role, and also, as Coach Cherie says, not trying to play the wife card when we're supposed to be business partners, and honoring what he brings to the game. For Dwayne and I can be highly creative, and he may have to pull me back to refocus, or I have to honor sometimes with the role that he plays, as far as these are some of the things that we're going to do strategically, not going off on my own and doing something different that he hasn't even seen or we haven't agreed upon. So for me, that is key and critical. So am I doing a good job?
doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
You don't sound convincing.
You're doing a good job. I think there are times we have to make decisions on the spot, but it's always nice when we can collaborate and come to a healthy agreement, because it makes things so much better.
Yeah.
It makes it better. It makes it better, and it normally it allows it to sustain longer.
Yes. Yep.
Because that perspective, early in our marriage, Stacy and I's marriage, I used to take it as a challenge more than as a help. Just because we have been so junked up by the culture on what marriage looks like and what marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm this, I'm that, I'm the man. And somebody told me a long time that if you have to go in your house announcing that you the man, then you probably not.
That's a good point.
So, but the willingness to turn from here, Sean, to back, and now we can see that 360 has changed the very dynamic that even made me want to consider even going in business with Stacy.
Yeah.
Because your mindset has to be ready for that perspective. And so we had to learn how to celebrate our differences,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not beat up, not challenge, not, well, I would do it this way. Like really lean into, let me hear. And it's the differences that gives the unit the niche, the special sauce, whatever we gonna call it, is because it is the literally collaboration, the joining thereof of the both of the superpowers to make. When we're single, we're loose cannons. I'll tell anybody that. People don't like that, especially men. When men are single, we think we something, but we really loose cannons. It is not until we begin to become in a relationship, and even Dwayne being a young married man, he wasn't loose. He was developing and maturing, but he wasn't loose. And when young men don't have a purpose to lock into, my kids, my wife, we make decisions that are haphazard and could change the trajectory greatly because we're only considering ourselves. So marriage in itself, the partnership as business. So even though I may not agree, I have to consider because of the final destination. And so, yeah, all that. Yeah, you got to be ready for all that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a good listen. I'm telling you, ladies, I'm picking the brains today. I might be outnumbered the next
Okay.
time, right? And I'll start maybe with you, Mr. James, and then I'll go to you, John, and then I'm going to go to you, Dwayne, because I want to. I'm really curious to hear this answer. So, according to the Bible, Word of God, we're faith based. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So this is a two-part question. How did you know when you found your good thing?
Mhm.
That's number one. And then how did you know? How did you know it was wise for you to go into business now with your spouse to continue an evolution or another part of the journey? So your good thing that you found, how you knew that was the one, and then when you started venturing over into business, how you knew it was right for the two of you to do it together.
Well, Sean, I knew she was my good thing when I saw the other side of that scripture where it says he obtains favor
Amen.
because of her.
Mhm.
And I was seeing the favor that I was obtaining because I was with her and she was with me and she cared for me. She loved me. So I saw the favor that came from God through her. Okay. So that's when I knew, yes, she is my good thing. Now, in the going to business, um, it was pretty like this. Um, well, the Lord said, well, I don't want you to do part time for me. I need for you to do full time for me. And I was working at a radio station at the time. And I was program director and making good money. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke my wife up and I said, the Lord said for me not to do part time for him, but do full time. She says, so you saying you're going to quit your job? I said, well, that's what the Lord's saying. She said, well, if that's what the Lord's saying, I can't get in the way.
Hmm.
Go ahead and do what you know to do. If the Lord's saying that to you, then I got to go with the Lord, what the Lord is telling you. And so from that time, I had a peace about it. And 17 years later, I've been full time ever since.
Wow.
So even with that, in the 17 years, still I had to even learn about how to include my wife into the business because it was more so the vision that God gave me. But then I had to understand that my wife is my helpmeet. And what are the gifts and the talents and the things that God put into her that could help me in order to further the vision. So that's where I knew, I found my good thing and to go into business with.
Your good thing is going to be very proud of your answer. And I love it. And I love
Yeah.
the authenticity of it. What about you, Mr. John?
Yeah, so I knew Stacy was my good thing. Um, when everybody else I was with prior to her was something I wanted. And Stacy ended up being something that I needed. And that was hard to grab. How did I know, Dwayne? All the stunts and tricks I tried everywhere else, they weren't flying, they weren't moving, they weren't acceptable, they weren't agreeable.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't going to date her and date other people. She told me specifically, when you finish dating that dime crew, then come on over here when you serious. Like,
I love it.
That's right.
no woman ever spoke to me like that, Sean. Who are you? Um, I can remember standing in her foyer. Uh, I was dropping off on one of our dates, and by this time we have gone out sometime, and it was all summer long, 3, 4 months, 5 months. She was really starting to begin to start even thinking about me meeting my oldest daughter, who was our only child at the time, because I had not met her. I knew about her, but Stacy was very matter of fact that she weren't going to be having men in and out the lives of her daughter. Um, and so when she mentioned that, it actually scared me though, Dwayne, because this was both of our second marriage. So I had been married prior to her the same. And I had vowed that I would never get married again, Sean. I just wasn't. The ripping of the divorce was just too much for me. When she decided that it was time for me to daughter, I stood in her foyer and I said, I like you,
Oh, wow.
but I don't love you. And what I was really trying to say was, I like you, but I'm scared. That's what I was
Yeah.
really saying.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I understand and I appreciate it, and I think our time was good. And if it's
Doc, I ran
anything else,
away from mine too. I ran away from
listen,
mine too.
and listen, Sean, she said, and if God, right, um and if that's where it is, I appreciate it. You have been a gentleman. But you can go in and leave. And I was trying to leave out the door, Sean. I could not leave the foyer. I actually slid down the wall. She said, now what is going on? I said, God won't let me leave.
That's just where you're supposed to be.
Wow.
God wouldn't let me leave. I promise you I tried. And every time I thought to leave, I was in this Jacob wrestling moment right there in the moment. And when I trusted God that my heart can be open, because if you love unabandoned, you're trusting somebody with your heart.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that was my good thing. Business wise, I had made so many idiotic decisions. And she was on the outside saying, yeah, you know, maybe if you, nah, I'm good. I got it. And I listened to just one of them. We would have been so further ahead, Dwayne. So I said this last time, which we're in now, I did include in the beginning, and it has been the best thing. And favor, yes, has been obtained. So I'm good, but I'm not that good. And I know doors are opening because we're the unit. So I know that. So yeah, man, I'm glad I didn't miss it. And when she came down the aisle, Sean and Dwayne, James,
Did you cry?
I cried. And let me tell you why I cried. Because she asked me, she said, babe, why were you crying? I said, when I saw you come down the aisle, I said, wow, I wasted all these years before with people who I shouldn't
Oh,
have been with, and now I'm getting married. Look, I thought I was old, and now I'm getting married at 31, and
young. Yeah.
right, and because I got married younger, and I was like, man, I missed it. I missed it. Now I gotta hurry things life up because I wasted time. And I was just thankful God had given me another opportunity. So yeah, thank you, Sean. I think that was I never had that question, but I know. Thank you.
Look, get
Yeah.
ready because I got a last one for y'all. But I'm curious to know
Well,
when did you know? And here's the thing, I want the real answer because sometimes
I'm
people.
gonna give you the
Oh
real.
Lord, I'm afraid, y'all. I'm afraid. I'm outnumbered, ladies.
I'm gonna give you the
Okay,
real.
because sometimes
Oh
people
man, we gonna
know.
give you the real now. We gonna give you the real.
Sometimes people know after the altar, so it's interesting. Okay, so how did you
Okay, so first of all, I had seen a lot in my life, and I had determined at that point that I don't trust nobody, and I ain't getting married to nobody. This ain't even gonna happen. And I was young, so I just had it in my mind it just wasn't gonna happen. And but I met Sean. First of all, didn't even. Long story, so I ain't gonna get into it. But I tried to meet her before, it didn't happen, and I met her and I realized that she was the one I was trying to meet before. So when I met her, I was curious, but I didn't even know at the time when I figured out she was the one that she was the person I was trying to meet earlier.
So you had a picture of me like 2 years before we met, or a year before we met, or something weird.
And I
I'm like,
asked
what are
her,
you doing with this picture of me? Yeah.
yeah, so I found it out later. But anyway, so during this conversation that I was, for all the reasons I said I was not going to get married and the things that I said, this is what I would need to even consider, but it ain't out there, so I'm not even going to do it. All the things that I thought in my mind, she said, so she told me basically all of the things that I needed to hear to move forward with the relationship. Because I mean, at that point, I was like, I called my uncle, like, hey, I'm getting ready to get married, and it was the first time I ever talked to her. And I knew though, just from the conversation that, I mean, we probably talked on the phone that first day for probably 6 hours straight, and it was a long time that we talked, and I really just knew then that she was like the one, and everything else is out the window. Um, we we moved forward, we got married. I looked at some different opportunities for business earlier in life, but I just she wasn't on board, and I just knew without her on board, it wasn't going to work because I just didn't. I felt it, right? That's when you just, like I said, I felt like I let go too easy, but I didn't really let go because of the business. I let go because of our relationship, and I didn't want to jeopardize that just for starting a business. It was too much at stake to risk it, you know. And I didn't want to jeopardize that. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my family for the business. And so that started that. Now I've offered Sean several times to let me be a house husband. Now I'm still, it's on the table now. I even sang Babyface. I wash clothes, I cook your food.
No.
All of that. But unfortunately, it probably was the singing that made it a no. But yeah, but yeah. So we did like start this thing a few years ago, and it felt so much better that we were together on this thing. And but yeah, I knew from the first conversation that she was definitely the one. But a few years later, some other stuff happened, and she held me down, backed me up, kept me on track. And like you said, never ever ever accepted mediocre. Never
No,
ever
sir.
accepted the minimal. She only would accept me reaching my full potential. She never would let me slide with anything less. So I knew right there she was holding me accountable.
So listen, we are at the top of the hour.
Oh, you got to answer this question. Don't
Oh,
think,
I have a
don't,
well,
yeah, I was
okay.
about to
Can
say,
I
no,
throw one more
don't think
question?
you're going to throw that question out there for us and don't answer.
How
No.
did I know that I was the one to be found by you? Is that what we're doing?
I guess so.
I will say, and this is just like a really transparent moment for me. So growing up, my mother is amazing, but I saw her go through a really tough marriage. I saw infidelity all around me in different parts of relationships. So for me, it was really difficult to say marriage is a good thing because I hadn't seen it work well. Um, so although when I met Dwayne, I was young and in love, there was a lot of trepidation there for me entering into a relationship, being afraid of being crushed or being hurt. And there's a lot of things that I learned as an individual about myself. So what I will say is I've always been connected. I've always uh, known that you were the one, but I think the real reinforcement came when the trials and the storms came, and then we determined through hell or high water, this is what it is, because we're better together than apart. I don't believe in people saying just to say or saying for the kids or when God separates according to the word of God, things like that. But I will say, as much as we've been through, I've never found a love like this. I've never had a love like this. I know you are my one. So I just know it.
Stop looking.
Stop listening. Here's a whole mess. And the sound effects are good to me. All right, so we'll wrap up with this last question. Um, and this one is again, ladies, I'm having an opportunity impromptu to pick the brain of men. Uh, John, I'm going to start with you. James, I'm going to go to you, and Dwayne, and I'm going to end with you to close us out. So, John, what advice? Oh, you have another question for me?
Go ahead. You go ahead and answer the
No,
question.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, fellas, all right. I got my own answers to this, but I just got one question.
I'm afraid.
No, it's just simple. What do you think is the number one marriage killer? And because I think a lot of people go through things and they but what do you think is the one thing that we can do, that we can look out for to keep us out of that side pocket over there?
Yep. Number one thing for me, assumptions and no communication, unspoken expectations.
Yes.
The assumptions, it would have derailed us. I mean, we just pushed through, and when you have the conversation, you be like, dang, really? We that part.
Yes.
Learning how to respond to the communication. So you hear people all the time, Dwayne, yeah, communication. No, what about communication?
Yeah.
The assumptions. We assume, well, I would ask her, but you already going down. Well, she probably not, you won't ask her to be a business partner because, well, I already failed a couple other ones, so she probably not. You made an assumption.
Yeah.
That's not bad, but it's still one. And so and so and so and so. That's an assumption. So yes, instead of just saying, hey, Stace, I was thinking I would like to do this, and I just want to hear what you think about it because I don't want my assumptions to derail what I have not even attempted. And that's what it, and then if you come back, it's different. But I'm not going to tell myself no or our marriage no anymore because I'm assuming. So that would be mine.
And John, I come to find out though, the reason why we make the assumptions or we say, look, we've been thinking about something, but we won't bring it to the table is because we don't have a plan. And see, women have to have that plan. What is your plan?
This was our conversation like 5 minutes ago before the show.
Yeah, how are you going to do this, and how are you going to maintain? They need a plan because I come to find out if you don't have a plan, they'll shut you down, or they'll be like, well, get us the plan, give me the plan, then we can see. But we have to have a plan, and sometimes we had this bright idea, we gonna run with it, but then we gonna run with it, but we have no plan with it.
Oh, that's good. I'll say mine. I think it goes back to something that really resonated with me with the value piece of it. Sometimes we are more respectful to people that we don't know, that we don't live with, that are not going to help us than we are our own spouses, right? So y'all know I'm doing my 9 to 5 stuff, and I also we're in business. But when I'm thinking about people that I work with, I'm nurturing relationships, I'm networking, I'm supposed to be listening actively, I'm checking on my tone and how I respond, I'm checking on the way that my emails went, did I offend them, listening with empathy, and then when we come home, it's just like, why'd you do that? Without thinking about it. So really nurturing that relationship and being respectful, I think, is key. And when you lose that level of respect, you are going down on that value meter, and that's a killer because then it's, do you really value me?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is.
Hold on. Hey, Dwayne.
Yeah.
Don't let her throw that value meter at you all night, cause she didn't lock into that.
Yeah, she hanging on that thing, ain't she? I don't know.
She hanging on that thing.
Gotta check my meter.
If you buy me a bill tonight, you
my
value
meter
me.
might be low. No, I know, but yeah, I do believe, like you said, John, that communication thing, and then when you really look into what does that communication mean, like, and then you are making assumptions, and you are giving an answer before you even got it, right? You giving yourself the answer. You haven't even asked the question. You talk yourself out of it. Again, those things you don't even know because you never had the conversation. You didn't even allow them to give you an answer. I think a big one for me, I think looking back and looking over some of the relationships that I've seen go down was because of pride, right? Pride is so strong, so big, and people, both sides of the equation want to be together, but their pride standing in the way. You're too proud to say I'm sorry. You're too proud to admit that you were wrong, or just to go back and ask for that forgiveness. So I think communication, pride, that value meter, it's a lot of obstacles out there that we can avoid if we just take that time to look out.
I'm sorry. All right, so can I end with the last question?
You got it.
All right.
You got it.
Y'all gonna give me the honesty?
Okay.
Got it. So this is gonna be curious, and this will be a cliffhanger for the next part. So John, for you first, Mr. James, you, and then Dwayne, you can close us out.
I'm glad you first.
What advice would you give women, a wife who is in a relationship, in business partnership with her husband, seeking to better understand? What advice would you give her from a man's perspective?
No, I love it. And I ask this of my wife all along, is value the expertise I bring before you go outside of the house. My gifting, you see my gifting, you see I'm using it everywhere else, but I don't. And you see how people are using it and value it outside the house. And that seems to be the very place that I always have to keep proving, even though I may be generating money from it, I may be moving us forward. You may even be a beneficiary of it, but to value it. So I'm in marketing and television, and I cringe at times when I hear my wife when I hear Stacy go to other people in my specific area first, and I say, I'm right here. And
hold up, pride. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because somebody may be a handy person, like whatever your skill is, at least allow me right to first refusal. Don't snatch that. And be willing to say I'm sorry and apologize. It's okay. Y'all, you are wrong at times. Not as often as we may be, but if you would just say,
hold up, say that part again. No, I'm just playing.
Mr. James, erase that.
Yeah. So I don't don't think we ask for a lot. I believe if you want to be valued and honor wives, wives, then stand up in the respect for us. That's how we spell love. And then it's not going to be no problem to value and honor our queen. When we don't feel respected, it's hard to value. We'll love you, but it'll be hard for us to value you. And that's what we're asking for. Okay, I'm done.
That is key. Look, ladies, gems, gems, gems. Let me see the gems come through. Mr. James, on to you.
Well, John, you said the last part that I was going to say. And the last part is to a man, love to a man is respect. Even the Bible says for the man to love the woman, but for the woman to respect the man. Respect is the ultimate love for a man, because if he feels respected, then I mean he'll go from here to whatever for you. Um, it's just that a man wants to feel respected, especially in business. You may think his idea is crazy, but just listen to him, because then you might help him format it. You might help him to put it in the right mode, or you might even help him to say, yeah, that is kind of crazy. No, let's not do that. But give him that respect. And even with men, going back to the wife, just love your wife. Love your wife, and always include her. And sometimes that's hard for us to include our wives, because hey, when we get something, we go to running, we go to saying, hey, we got this. But also make it just make it to where you're going to include her, because then once you include her, then she feels a part, and then she also feels respected in that manner as well.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
Mrs. James, but she asked so many questions. I can't.
Oh, Doc, that's a woman. That's a woman's DNA. She gonna do that.
Ask so many questions. I can't bring her everything.
Well, if she doesn't, but Dwayne, if she doesn't ask the question,
right,
then how can they help meet the need?
Yeah,
that's good.
And see, we don't like it when they ask all the questions.
Well, we don't want to be interrogated. No, it's a difference from being asked questions and being interrogated.
Look, I feel outnumbered. You see, I'm really quiet.
But no, I think the biggest thing is for the women, right? I think that when you're in business with your husband, it all comes in line with playing that wife card. But you got to put your feelings in your pocket. I keep my feelings in my pocket all day. Me and Sean doing business together, I keep my feelings in my pocket. I don't worry about it, because I know that we're not going to agree on things. She's going to ask questions. She's going to probably hit something that I didn't think about, and it's probably going to hit me in the wrong spot. But I got the feelings in my pocket. I take them home and I bring them out and I show them to her later. But I keep my feelings in my pocket all day, and I don't really get into this space where I'm feeling some type of way by anything she said. And I just say the same thing for them. Sometimes we could say things blunt, we could say things abrupt. We just have a direct, more direct voice, where they are more charismatic about saying things. We sometimes say things a little bit more forceful or blunt, and it don't really come out the way we intend it. But I think I would say sometimes you just got to put your feelings in your pocket, maybe talk about it a little later and say, okay, I hear you, but can you go back and tell me a little bit about what you were trying to say, or talk about it later. Don't really get into this full-blown discussion about it if it's the wrong time. If it's still not the right thing, though, okay, you can't let it go. But sometimes you gotta not get offended in the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'll end by just saying this. For me, the advice that I would give to the wives, and this is just a real talk, is respect is key. There have been times where I, in taking ownership of this, have devalued the way that I didn't even realize it, because my action, what I was saying may be one thing, but my action would be, you don't trust me to deliver on this, or you don't trust me to be capable to do this, was the signal that I was sending. Um, and so you have to do that. For me, I've also learned that just because I want to ask all of the questions, I need to be mindful of the right timing to do it. I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a man thing in general, you all live in your head. So it's a lot of times where you need an opportunity to process, where I'm talking about 50 things and you just want to focus on the one thing and you need set time for that. And just really appreciate who you're with. So this has been excellent for me. This has been a great opportunity for wives to learn more about how to work with their husbands in business, husbands to learn how to work with wives, how to have successful marriage and business and partnerships together, and enjoying the journey. And maybe, again, I can get the wives on and we can have some more real talk in this, because that is all a part of the wealth factor. Yes, I won't be So I'll let you sign. I'll let you say the thank yous and sign this off while you sending the code.
Before Dwayne sign off, and for both people, the wife and the husband, let's dispense some grace.
Yeah.
Yes.
I call it B2B. Believe the best. Let's believe the best and give the benefit of doubt. That I'm gonna say from 11 to 21 has made these former latter years so much more enjoyable. Is because the grace that's been dispensed, it helps. And even though, like Dwayne said, it might have hit that pop shot, but if I take it that it wasn't malicious or intentional, it's different. It's just, hey, I didn't see it, and I'm a little bit just frustrated with myself because I didn't see it. It ain't because she said it. That's what we're saying. Okay, all right.
Right, exactly.
Right. So those are those little, for men. I think we have a little bit more than y'all showing, but those are those little pride, PRIDE pockets, little pride pockets that get bumped, and you don't know until it gets bumped that you even had that little pride pocket. So it's not our whole being. It's just you don't know, and then when it gets bumped, you're like, wow, I'm tripping a little bit. And when you think about, like, man, Sean said that. All right, I got it. And the mature thing is say, babe, I know I ain't react the right way, but I got what you're saying. I appreciate it because I didn't see it. And what you got was because I was a little upset because why I ain't see it? I'm supposed to be the businessman. I'm doing business, man. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
I love it. I love that, and I just love the authenticity of this conversation, because knowledge is power, and we perish for lack of knowledge. And having a greater understanding of how to interact and how to stand individually and collectively is key. They do it in business and corporations all the time, but then when we're starting our journey, we forget about all of those things. So this has been super helpful to me, your wife.
And me.
You too?
Me too.
All right. So you're going to close this out?
You do so much better than I do.
He always puts me on this. So thank you so much for joining the Wealth Roundtable. I hope you have been empowered, inspired. I hope you've had an opportunity to get some really good laughs in as well. But on a serious note, again, wealth is so much more than the tangible. So take these nuggets, take these inside tools and apply them to your business, to your marriage, to your ministry, to every area and aspect of your life so that you can be well, whole, peaceful, and complete. So we are going to sign off by giving our famous wave. I need some outro music. We're going to start putting some outro music together. And thank you, Mr. John and Mr. James, for joining us. We love you to life. Signing off.